The stars looked peaceful through the bridge windows of the UES Liberty as it drifted slowly through the Kepler system. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the numbers scroll across his screen. 3 weeks of mineral surveys had given them good data about the asteroid fields in this sector. Earth would be happy with what they found. "Captain, we're getting some interesting readings from Asteroid Cluster 7, said Lieutenant Amy Peterson from her station. She was the ship's tactical officer, but on exploration missions like this, everyone wore multiple hats. "Looks like rare earth metals, possibly platinum group." Jake nodded and stood up, walking over to look at her screen. The Liberty was a good ship, not the biggest in Earth's small fleet, but reliable. 43 crew members called it home during these long survey missions. Most of them were scientists and engineers with only a small security team aboard. "How much longer do we need to get a full scan?" Jake asked. "Another 6 hours should do it," Amy replied. "Carlos wants to run some deep scans on the larger asteroids too." Carlos Martinez was their chief engineer, a man who could fix anything and had an eye for valuable resources. Dr. Lisa Kim, their medical officer, often joked that Carlos could find gold in a garbage dump. Right now, he was probably down in engineering, running calculations on the mineral density they were seeing. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Jake liked these peaceful moments. Space exploration wasn't always exciting battles and alien encounters like the old movies showed. Most of the time, it was long stretches of careful work, checking and double-checking everything. "Captain," called out Ensign Peter Walsh from the communications station. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Jake walked over to Peter's station. The young man had only been with them for 8 months, but he had good instincts. "What kind of strange?" "Multiple contacts, sir. They just appeared at the edge of sensor range. 12 ships moving in formation." Peter's fingers moved across his controls, trying to get a clearer reading. "They're big, Captain. Much bigger than us." Jake felt his stomach tighten. This was supposed to be empty space. Earth's scout ships had been through this system 6 times over the past 2 years and never found any signs of intelligent life. "Can you get any details on their design?" "Working on it, sir." Peter paused, then looked up with worry in his eyes. "Captain, they're not human ships. The design is completely different from anything in our database." The peaceful bridge suddenly felt very small. Jake hit the comm button on Peter's station. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. This is not a drill." Within 3 minutes, Amy had called up the tactical display while Carlos came running from engineering, still wiping grease from his hands. Dr. Kim arrived last, having been in the medical bay checking on a crew member with a minor injury. "Show me what we're dealing with," Jake said. The main screen lit up with a tactical view of the system. 12 red dots were moving toward them in a perfect formation. The computer had managed to get some details on their size and estimated mass. "Each one is about 10 times our size," Amy said, her voice steady but tense. "I've never seen ship designs like these before. They're definitely not from Earth." Carlos whistled low. "Those are warships, Captain. Look at the power signatures our sensors are picking up. Those things could turn us into space dust without breaking a sweat." Dr. Kim moved to another station and pulled up the crew roster. "What are our options, Captain?" Jake studied the screen. The alien ships were still too far away to get detailed scans, but they were clearly heading straight for the Liberty. "How long until they reach us?" "At their current speed, about 25 minutes, Amy replied. "Can we outrun them?" Amy shook her head. "Not a chance. Our maximum speed is only about 60% of what they're showing." "What about jumping? To hyperspace?" Carlos asked. "The jump drive needs 40 minutes to charge up from a cold start," Jake said grimly. "We shut it down this morning to save power for the scanning equipment." The bridge fell silent as everyone realized how trapped they were. 12 unknown alien warships were bearing down on them and they had no way to escape. "Incoming transmission," Peter announced. "They're hailing us." Jake straightened his uniform and nodded. "Put it on screen." The main display shifted to show an alien face that looked vaguely reptilian, with golden scales and large dark eyes. When it spoke, The universal translator made its voice sound cold and formal. Human vessel, this is Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Galactic Coalition. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Jake stepped forward. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Liberty. We're on a peaceful scientific mission. We had no knowledge that this space was restricted. The alien's expression didn't change. Your ignorance is not an excuse. The Coalition has monitored your species' expansion into our territory. This ends now. You have 30 minutes to comply with our demands, or we will destroy your vessel. The screen went black. Carlos ran his hand through his hair. Coalition? How many species are we talking about here? Unknown, Amy said, working at her station. But if they're calling it a coalition, we're probably looking at multiple alien races. Working together? Dr. Kim was checking her medical supplies. Captain, what are the chances they'll let us go if we surrender? Jake looked around at his crew. These were good people, scientists and explorers who had signed up to expand human knowledge, not to fight wars. But something in the alien admiral's voice told him that surrender might not guarantee their survival. I don't know, he said honestly. But I'm not ready to give up yet. Amy looked up from her tactical display. Captain, more ships are jumping into the system. Looks like they're positioning themselves to cut off any escape routes. The tactical screen now showed over 20 alien vessels surrounding their position. The Liberty was completely boxed in, like a mouse surrounded by cats. How long until the Admiral's deadline? Jake asked. 26 minutes, Peter replied. Jake sat back, down in his command chair and stared at the alien ships on the screen. 43 lives depended on the decisions he made in the next half hour. Earth was counting on them to return with their survey data. And somewhere out there, other human ships might face the same situation if word got back about what happened. Here. All right, people, he said quietly. We've got 26 minutes to figure out how to get out of this mess. Let's get to work. Admiral Vextar leaned back in his command chair aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion. His golden scales caught the light from the bridge displays as he watched the small human vessel on his main screen. 24 ships now surrounded the primitive craft, each one capable of destroying it with a single shot. Admiral, the human ship shows no signs of powering down, reported his tactical officer, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. Their engines are still running at full power. Vextar made a sound that might have been laughter. In 300 years of Coalition expansion, he had seen this same pattern dozens of times. A new species would stumble into Coalition space, get cornered by superior forces, and then make the same mistakes. First they would try to negotiate, then they would attempt some foolish escape plan, and finally they would surrender when they realized how hopeless their situation was. Let them waste their time, Vextar said. These humans are no different from the others. They will learn their place soon enough. The Zephyrian Coalition had been the dominant power in this sector of the galaxy for centuries. 7 different alien species worked together under Zephyrian leadership, controlling over 200 star systems. They had crushed dozens of younger civilizations that had tried to expand into their territory. Sir, should we maintain full battle readiness? Asked his weapons officer. Vextar waved a clawed hand dismissively. No need. Power down the main weapons to minimum charge. Keep the shields at 20%. I want these humans to see how little effort we need to destroy them. The weapons officer looked surprised. Sir, regulations require us to maintain full combat status when engaging unknown species. These are not unknown anymore, Vextar replied coldly. We have been watching human expansion for months. They are a young species with primitive technology. Their ships are small, their weapons are weak, and they have no allies. This is not a battle, it is a lesson. On the bridge displays, Vextar could see the human ship clearly now. It was tiny compared to his flagship, maybe 1/10 the size. Its hull looked simple and basic, without the advanced armor plating that Coalition ships carried. The humans had stumbled into Coalition space like children wandering into a den of predators. Admiral, incoming message from the human captain, announced the communications officer. Put it through. The human captain appeared on screen again. Vextar studied, his face looking for signs of fear or desperation. Instead, he saw something that puzzled him. The human looked calm, almost thoughtful. "Admiral Vextar, I'm requesting permission to speak with our home government before we make any decisions," the human said. "This situation affects more than just my ship." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. "You think this is a negotiation, human? You have no authority here. Your government is not part of this conversation." "I understand your position," the human captain replied. "But surely your coalition has procedures for first contact situations. We're not trying to cause trouble. We just want to find a peaceful solution." "The peaceful solution is simple," Vextar said. "Surrender now, and some of your crew might survive to see their home again. Continue to resist, and all of you will die in the next 20 minutes. The human captain nodded slowly. "I see. Thank you for making your position clear, Admiral." The transmission ended, and Vextar turned to his tactical officer. "How much time do they have left?" 18 minutes, sir." Meanwhile, aboard the Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison was having a very different conversation with his senior staff. They had gathered in the conference room next to the bridge, speaking in low voices while the alien fleet waited outside. "The alien admiral thinks he has us completely figured out," Jake said quietly. "He's so confident that he's powered down his main weapons." Amy Peterson pulled up the tactical readings on her tablet. "I've been watching their energy signatures. Most of their ships are running at minimum power levels. They're treating this like target practice." Carlos Martinez leaned forward across the table. "Captain, there's something I need to tell you about this ship, something that wasn't in the mission briefings." Jake raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Carlos looked around the room nervously. "The Liberty isn't just an exploration vessel. It's a test bed for new military technology. Earth Command has been using our survey missions to test experimental weapons and systems without attracting attention." Dr. Lisa Kim stared at him. "What kind of experimental systems?" "Three major ones," Carlos said, pulling out a secure tablet that Jake had never seen before. "First, we have adaptive plasma cannons that can change their energy frequency while firing. Second, we carry quantum entanglement torpedoes that can bypass most types of shields. And third, we have a prototype micro-jump drive that can make short-range jumps within a solar system." The room fell silent. Jake felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. "How long have you known about this?" "Since before we left Earth," Carlos admitted. "I was ordered to keep it secret unless we encountered a situation where the weapons might be needed. Earth Command thought the chances of running into hostile aliens were very small." Amy was already working on her tablet, pulling up new technical specifications. "Carlos, why didn't the aliens detect these systems when they scanned us?" "The weapons are disguised as standard ship systems," Carlos explained. "The plasma cannons look like mining lasers, the torpedo tubes are hidden behind fake cargo bay doors, and the micro-jump drive appears to be part of the main engine assembly." Dr. Kim shook her head. "This changes everything. We're not helpless scientists anymore." Jake stood up and walked to the small window in the conference room. Outside, he could see the lights of the alien ships surrounding them. The Admiral thought he was dealing with a simple exploration vessel, crewed by peaceful researchers. He had no idea what the Liberty was really capable of. "Carlos, what are our chances if we fight?" Jake asked. Carlos worked on his tablet for several minutes, running calculations. "The adaptive plasma cannons can penetrate their shields because they're not expecting frequency changes. The quantum torpedoes should go right through their defenses. And the micro-jump drive would let us hit multiple targets before they can respond." "But there are 24 of them," Amy pointed out. "True, but they're spread out in a wide formation and most of their weapons are powered down," Carlos replied. "If we move fast enough, we could take out a significant number before they realize what's happening." Jake turned back to his crew. "What's the downside?" "If we fail, they'll destroy us immediately," Dr. Kim said. "And Earth will never know what happened to us or what we learned about the Coalition. If we succeed," Amy added, "we'll have started a war between Earth and this Coalition." Jake looked at each of his senior officers. Carlos, the engineer who had been hiding military secrets. Amy, the tactical officer who was already planning attack patterns. Dr. Kim, the doctor who was worried about her crew's survival. There's one more thing to consider, Jake said slowly. That admiral made it clear that he thinks humans are weak and primitive. He's so confident that he's barely taking precautions. If we surrender, he'll report back to his coalition that humans are easy targets. And then they'll come for Earth, Amy finished. Jake nodded. Exactly. This might not just be about saving our ship. This might be about saving our entire species. Carlos closed his tablet. Captain, the alien admiral gave us 30 minutes. We have 12 minutes left. If we're going to do this, we need to start preparing now. Jake looked out the window again at the alien ships. The admiral was waiting for them to surrender, confident in his overwhelming superiority. He had made the mistake of underestimating humans, and now he was about to learn what that mistake would cost him. All right, Jake said quietly. Let's show them what humans can do when they're cornered. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching the countdown timer on his screen. 8 minutes left before Admiral Vextar's deadline. Around him, his crew worked with quiet intensity, preparing for what might be the most desperate plan in human history. Carlos, what's the status on our hidden systems? Jake asked. Carlos Martinez looked up from his engineering console, sweat beading on his forehead. The adaptive plasma cannons are online and ready. I've programmed them to cycle through 17 different energy frequencies. The alien shields won't know what hit them. Amy Peterson was hunched over her tactical station, her fingers flying across multiple screens. Captain, I've identified the optimal firing sequence. If we hit their command ships first, the rest of their fleet will need time to reorganize. Dr. Lisa Kim moved between stations, checking on each crew member. She carried a medical kit filled with stimulant injections designed to help humans survive extreme acceleration forces. Everyone's as ready as they can be, she reported. But, Jake, the G-forces from multiple micro-jumps could be dangerous. Some crew members might lose consciousness. Jake nodded grimly. The plan they had developed was insane by any reasonable standard. The Liberty would use its micro-jump drive to teleport to 12 different positions around the alien fleet in rapid succession. At each position, they would fire quantum torpedoes and plasma cannons at the nearest enemy ship, then jump away before the aliens could respond. Newton, run the final calculations, Jake said to the ship's artificial intelligence. Ito, AI's calm voice filled the bridge. Captain, based on current alien ship positions and power levels, our success probability is 23%. However, if we achieve surprise in the first 3 jumps, probability increases to 67%. What about crew survival? Dr. Kim asked. If the plan succeeds, 91% of crew members should survive with minor to moderate injuries. If the plan fails, survival drops to 0%. Amy looked up from her station. Captain, I've been studying their formation. The aliens have positioned themselves in a perfect sphere around us. They think it's the ideal trap, but it actually works in our favor. We can hit ships on opposite sides of their formation before they can coordinate a response. Carlos wiped more sweat from his face. The micro-jump drive is charged and ready, but Captain, I need to warn you about something. We'll be pushing this system far beyond its design limits. The drive was built for emergency escapes, not for tactical combat jumps. What's the worst that could happen? Jake asked. The drive could overload and explode, taking the ship with it. Or we could miss our target coordinates and jump into the middle of an asteroid. Or the navigation system could fail and we could end up scattered across the solar system. Dr. Kim checked her medical supplies one more time. And if we survive the jumps, the G-forces could cause brain hemorrhages, broken bones, or heart failure. Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. They had signed up to study distant worlds and make peaceful contact with alien civilizations. Instead, they were about to attempt the most violent and dangerous military action in human history. Does anyone want to suggest an alternative? Jake asked quietly. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Finally, Amy spoke up. Captain, that alien admiral made it clear that surrender won't save us. And even if it did, the coalition would use our capture as proof that humans are weak. They'd probably invade Earth within a year. Carlos nodded. At least this way we have a chance to send a message. Win or lose, the aliens will know that humans don't go down without a fight. 6 minutes until deadline, announced Ensign Peter Walsh from Communications. Jake activated the ship-wide intercom. All hands, this is the captain. In 5 minutes, we're going to attempt something that has never been tried before. We're going to use our ship's experimental systems to fight our way out of this trap. I won't lie to you, the chances are not good. But if we succeed, we'll be going home as heroes. If we fail, we'll be giving Earth valuable information about what we're facing out here. Either way, we'll be showing the galaxy that humans are not easy prey. He paused, looking at the faces on his bridge. I'm proud to serve with all of you. Let's make this count. Jake switched off the intercom and turned to his crew. Amy, are the firing solutions ready? Yes, sir. I've programmed 12 different attack patterns. The computer will automatically select targets based on ship size and power levels. Carlos, is the power core ready for overload? Ready, Captain. We'll have maximum power for exactly 8 minutes before the system starts shutting down to prevent explosion. Dr. Kim, are the crew members in position? Everyone is strapped in and ready. I've distributed stimulants to the key personnel who need to stay conscious during the jumps. Jake sat down in his command chair and strapped himself in. Around him, his bridge crew did the same. The countdown timer showed 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Newton, initiate Protocol Lazarus, Jake ordered. Protocol Lazarus initiated, the AI responded. All experimental systems are now active and under combat. Control. Micro jump drive is fully charged. Adaptive plasma cannons are online. Quantum torpedo tubes are loaded and ready. On the main screen, the alien ships continued their slow approach. Admiral Vextar's flagship was directly ahead of them, its weapons still powered down to minimum levels. The alien commander had no idea that his prey was about to become a predator. 3 minutes to deadline, Peter announced. Amy checked her tactical display one more time. Captain, I'm reading increased activity on some of the alien ships. They might be preparing to board us. Let them come closer, Jake said coldly. The closer they are, the easier our job becomes. Carlos was monitoring the ship's power systems. All systems showing green. The power core is stable at maximum output. Micro jump drive is holding steady. Dr. Kim finished her final preparations and took her seat. Medical teams are standing by on all decks. Emergency supplies are distributed. Throughout the ship, Jake looked at the countdown timer. 2 minutes left on the screen. He could see the running lights of the alien ships as they moved into their final positions. Admiral Vextar probably thought the humans were spending their last minutes in prayer or panic. 1 minute 30 seconds, Peter called. Out. Jake activated his captain's log. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Liberty. If anyone ever finds this recording, know that we tried our best to represent humanity with honor. We found ourselves facing impossible odds, but we chose to fight rather than surrender. Whatever happens next, remember that humans do not bow to bullies. He closed the log and looked around his bridge one more time. All stations report ready. Tactical ready. Engineering ready. Medical ready. Communications ready. Jake gripped the arms of his command chair. 30 seconds to deadline. Newton, prepare for first jump. First jump coordinates locked in. Target identified. Weapons ready. On the main screen, Admiral Vextar's flagship continued its slow approach, completely unaware of what was about to happen. 10 seconds, Jake said quietly. 5 seconds. Execute Protocol Lazarus, jump. The stars outside the Liberty's windows suddenly shifted, and the real battle began. The Liberty vanished from its position and reappeared instantly next to the closest Coalition destroyer. The alien crew had no time to react as 2 quantum torpedoes slammed into their engine core, while adaptive plasma cannons tore through their hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Before the other Coalition vessels could even register what had happened, the Liberty jumped again. This time it appeared behind a heavy cruiser, its weapons already firing. The plasma cannons cycled through 3 different energy frequencies in 2 seconds, overwhelming the alien shields. The cruiser's power core went critical, and the ship broke apart. On the Liberty's bridge, Captain Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the G-forces from the micro-jumps pressed against his body. Around him, his crew worked through the pain and disorientation, their training and determination keeping them focused on their tasks. "Jump 3 execute," Amy Peterson called out, her voice strained but steady. The stars shifted again, and the Liberty materialized alongside Admiral Vextar's flagship. The massive alien vessel was so close that Jake could see individual windows along its hull. Carlos Martinez didn't hesitate. He fired everything they had at the flagship's weapon systems. The adaptive plasma cannons struck the Zephyrian ship's main gun batteries, while quantum torpedoes penetrated deep into its armor. Explosions rippled along the flagship's hull as secondary systems overloaded. The ship lurched violently but didn't break apart. "Jump 4, Jake ordered. The Liberty disappeared just as the flagship's remaining weapons began to fire at empty space. They reappeared next to another coalition vessel, a sleek ship with strange angular designs. Amy's tactical systems identified it as some kind of command cruiser. The alien ship tried to turn away, but the Liberty's weapons were already firing. Plasma cannons carved through its bridge section, while torpedoes destroyed its communication arrays. The ship went dark and began drifting helplessly. Admiral Vextar staggered on his damaged bridge, golden blood running from a cut on his forehead. Half his control stations were dark, and emergency lights flashed throughout the command center. His tactical officer was shouting reports that made no sense. "Sir, we've lost 4 ships in 30 seconds. The human vessel is jumping around our formation faster than our targeting systems can track." "Impossible," Vextar roared. "They're a primitive species. How are they doing this?" "Unknown, sir. Their weapons are unlike anything in our database. They're changing energy frequencies faster than our shields can adapt." On his main screen, Vextar watched in horror as the small human ship appeared next to another coalition vessel. The enemy ship fired with deadly precision, and another of his fleet exploded. The human vessel vanished again before his ships could return fire. "All vessels, maximum power to weapons and shields," Vextar ordered. "Surround that ship, don't let it escape." But the Liberty was far from trying to escape. Jake Morrison and his crew were just getting started. "Jump 6, Amy called out. They appeared above a coalition battleship, diving down toward its hull like a bird of prey. Carlos had programmed the plasma cannons to fire in sequence, creating a cascading effect that overloaded the alien ship's power grid. The battleship's lights went out, and it began falling toward the nearby planet's gravity well. Dr. Lisa Kim moved between stations, injecting stimulants into crew members who were losing consciousness from the extreme acceleration forces. Her own vision was blurry, but she kept working. 3 crew members had already passed out, but the essential positions were still manned. "Status report," Jake called out, his voice hoarse from the strain. 7 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, Amy reported. 5 more showing significant damage. Newton is calculating optimal targets for the remaining jumps. Carlos wiped blood from his nose where the G-forces had burst a small blood vessel. "Power core holding steady, but we're using energy faster than I calculated. We have maybe 3 more jumps before we need to let the system cool down." "Make them count," Jake said grimly. "Jump 7. The Liberty appeared in the middle of the coalition formation, surrounded by enemy ships on all sides. For a terrifying moment, Jake thought they had made a mistake. Then he realized Amy's brilliant strategy. The alien ships couldn't fire at the Liberty without hitting each other. Carlos opened fire on the nearest target while enemy weapons lit up the space around them. Several coalition ships were forced to stop shooting to avoid hitting their own vessels. In the confusion, the Liberty's quantum torpedoes found their mark, and another alien ship exploded. "Jump 8 now," Jake ordered. They reappeared at the edge of the formation, targeting one of the remaining command ships. This alien vessel was ready for them, its shields at maximum and weapons charged. But the adaptive plasma cannons were too much for its defenses. The ship's shield generators overloaded, and the hull cracked open like an egg. Admiral Vextar watched his fleet falling apart around him. In less than 4 minutes, the humans had destroyed or crippled 11 coalition vessels. His magnificent armada was in ruins, and the primitive species he had underestimated was still fighting. "Sir, should we retreat?" asked his tactical officer. Vextar's pride warred with his survival instincts. The Coalition had never retreated from an inferior enemy, but this enemy was proving to be anything but inferior. "Jump 9, came Amy's voice over the Liberty's bridge. The human ship appeared directly in front of the flagship's main view screen. Jake Morrison could see Admiral Vextar's shocked face through the transparent metal. For a moment, the two commanders stared at each other across the void of space. Then Carlos fired every weapon they had left. The flagship's remaining shields collapsed under the assault. Explosions tore through its hull as the Liberty's weapons found critical systems. The massive ship's engines went dead, and it began to drift powerlessly. But the Liberty paid a price for its boldness. 3 Coalition ships that were still functional managed to get clear shots at the human vessel. Enemy fire struck the Liberty's hull, overloading its shields and damaging several systems. "Hull breach on Deck 4, reported a damage control team. "We're losing atmosphere." "Jump 10, Jake ordered, ignoring the alarms blaring throughout his ship. The Liberty appeared next to the last functional Coalition battleship. Both ships were damaged now, trading fire at point-blank range. The alien vessel's weapons tore into the Liberty's hull while the human ship's remaining torpedoes punched through the enemy's armor. The battleship exploded first, its reactor going critical in a blaze of light that briefly outshone the system's star. The Liberty was thrown clear by the explosion, its hull scarred and smoking but still intact. Jake looked around his bridge. Half the stations were dark, and emergency power was keeping their basic systems running. Several crew members were unconscious, and the rest looked like they had been through a war. Because they had. "Enemy status?" Jake asked weakly. Amy checked her damaged tactical display. 11 ships destroyed, 2 disabled and drifting. 1 ship still functional but retreating at maximum speed. The retreating ship was Admiral Vextar's flagship, limping away from the battle with its engines barely working. Jake opened a communication channel to the damaged vessel. "Admiral Vextar, this is Captain Morrison." The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his golden scales now dull with shock and defeat. Behind him, his bridge was a ruin of sparking equipment and emergency lights. "How?" Vextar asked simply. "How did you do this?" Jake leaned back in his command chair, exhausted but victorious. "Admiral, you made a mistake. You thought humans were weak because we're young. You thought we were primitive because our ships are smaller than yours, but you forgot something important." "What?" "Humans don't know when to quit, and we don't like bullies." Jake paused, letting his words sink in. "Take a message back to your Coalition, Admiral. Tell them that Earth will defend itself. Tell them that humans are not prey animals. And tell them that if they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." Vextar's image flickered and disappeared as his ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying news of the impossible defeat back to Coalition space. Jake activated the ship-wide intercom. "All hands, this is the captain. We're going home." Dr. Kim smiled through her exhaustion as she continued treating injured crew members. Carlos began the long process of repairing their damaged systems. Amy plotted a course back to Earth, where humanity would need to prepare for whatever came next. The Liberty limped toward the edge of the solar system, leaving behind the wreckage of a fleet that had thought humans were easy targets. Word of the battle would spread quickly through the galaxy, carried by survivors and refugees from a dozen different species. Humanity had announced itself to the cosmos not as supplicants seeking acceptance, but as warriors demanding respect. The galaxy would never be the same.